I'm Salad, Mint Salad, and I saw License to Kill with the C instead of an S because it's British, not American. It is directed by John Glenn, written by Richard Maybaum and Michael G. Wilson. If you haven't seen this movie, I will spoil it for you. This movie follows Bond trying to stop a big drug bust. That's pretty much the premise of the movie. However, the guy that they're trying to get, they capture him and then he escapes via the help of his friends. And so James Bond has to go to the guy's place, look around, have any reason to arrest him, which there is none. I really like the scene where James Bond is in disguise, knocking on that guy's door. He's like, yo, I got a shark to deliver. And he got the person who's answering the door, he's like, nobody's here. And then when James Bond's like, I have a shark to deliver, somebody in the back is like, yeah, bring him in. And then he says, oh, we don't have any sharks here. We got rid of all the sharks. You see that shark hunter? Don't mind it. That's for sale. James Bond, being as stubborn as he is, he's like, I'm going to stick back, look into what's going on here. And he finds sharks, a bunch of sharks, and a bunch of cocaine in the maggot stash, where he feeds all the fish maggots. And then I assume that he feeds the sharks humans, and he has the fish feeding, fattening up business as some sort of front, because his actual thing that he's doing is he's smuggling cocaine. He's selling drugs. That's a lot more of a profitable business than fish selling, fish fattening up eating. There's a point where there's a guard who's like, we got you, James Bond. And he has his hands in the maggots. He's like, can I take my hands out? The guy's like, sure. And he grabs a fistful of maggot, throws it in the guy's face, and pushes him into the maggots, and then closes the door. And like, is that airtight? Is that sealed? Oh no, that guy is just having to deal with a bunch of maggots. Ugh, that's gross. Here's something I've never seen in any other James Bond movie, where James Bond is very insistent on finishing this case. In previous films, the upper heads are like, okay, I guess, go ahead. Your job's on the line, but go ahead, right? This one, he's like, I don't want to go to the new assignment that you're assigning me, Istanbul. I ain't about that. No, no, no way. And so we got the head honcho, he's like, well, if you're not going to do this mission, I'm going to revoke your license to kill. And James Bond just runs off. He's a rogue guy now. Like, oh my goodness, James Bond's defecting? What? But of course, it's James Bond. He has really strong instincts, and I really think that the agency doesn't go harder after him because they know that when James Bond is so persistent on a case like this, he's going to get to the bottom of it, and he's going to figure out who is behind it and how to stop it. Head honcho's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. James Bond just left. There he goes, and he doesn't really do anything else to stop him. So we got James Bond, he's infiltrating, he's going into this laboratory, and he's very interested in what's going on there. Apparently, they have this whole scheme where they put gasoline and cocaine together. Okay, I mean, that part makes sense. Cocaine is water soluble, but also has gasoline in it. But here's the thing that kind of makes me go, what? How are you gonna get the gasoline out of the cocaine? There's already gasoline in the powdered form, and then you add gasoline to that. How are you going to remove gasoline and still keep the amount of gasoline that was in the powdered form? It's raining now. Umbrella time. Also, in theory, cocaine is flammable. It has gasoline, it has coca leaves, it has a bunch of chemicals added to it, it has people's feet. Did you know that's made with people's feet? We got this cocaine-fueled petrol, as it's British, but it's gas, whatever. And we have 4 tankers full of it. And James Bond is like, I'm gonna go after those guys. I'm gonna go after them in a plane, and I'm gonna jump on their trucks, and I'm gonna stop the shipment. Basically, their plan, the drug dealer's plan, is to sell this gas to a bunch of Asian drug dealers. But then, how are they going to extract the gasoline from the cocaine? There's already gasoline in cocaine, so you have to leave a little bit of it. Then you have to do some other stuff to it. It just seems difficult. Honestly, I like the idea of smuggling cocaine in maggots more than gasoline because, first of all, which cop is going to put their hand in a bunch of maggots? Be real here. James Bond barely wants to do it. He looks physically disgusted while doing it. I really do like the truck part though, I think that has to be my favorite part of the movie, is when he's trying to stop these trucks from being delivered, and one by one they go down, and then you got the drug dealer man in charge of this whole operation. The fourth truck crashes, he comes out with a machete, he's like, I'm gonna kill you, James Bond. And of course James Bond pulls out a lighter, just catches him on fire, he fires to death. This movie's a really fun time. I like it. I also feel like this is a darker performance from Timothy Dalton. Last movie he was a big Romeo. In this one, there seems to be an air of rebelliousness. Of course, if he's going to be rebellious, it has to be for a good reason, which there always is with James Bond, and he has a strong intuition. James Bond's number count isn't that big in this movie, and it's also kind of sketch how many chicks he's had sex with in this movie, because the encounters that he's had with the two women, it doesn't show sex on screen, however, it does show intimacy. I think it's implied that they've had sex, but it's not explicitly shown. I really like Timothy Dalton's performance in the last two movies, and I know this is his last movie, R.I.P., but I like the darker tone of this movie. I like how Timothy Dalton portrays Bond in a darker light, and he just seems so determined. He does seem determined in the other movies, but I don't think he's ever been so determined that he just outright runs away from his head honchos. Here's another scene that I like from this movie. When you got the demonstration of the cocaine gas mixture being flammable, they decide to put it on fire, and then James Bond takes it and just throws it and puts everything on fire. And so their very expensive laboratory just goes down in flames and explodes. It's a fun time for me, but not a fun time for the person who invested money into that. I know some people don't like the darker tone, but I really do like the darker tone. And I feel like there's a satisfying conclusion at the end. James Bond gets his job back, and that's good, because I want more James Bond in the future. What do you think of License to Kill? Do you think it should be spelled with an S or a C? I personally think it should be spelled with an S because I'm American, and it feels weird to spell it with a C. Let me know what you think of this movie in the comments below. I've got to give it, it's a solid 7.3 out of 10. If you like this review, watch another one on the platform. Like I said, $20 Dinos at patreon.com/ASEPresents. One movie review per 1 month. Go to Slate to support the daily grindiness of all the daily movies, so go here. And until next time, mint salad sauce, see you later, my sour croutons and bacon bits. Adios.